They said Anike was dead, but the truth? She was just quiet. And when a woman like her goes quiet, it means she's watching, learning, and counting her enemies one by one. The newspaper said she died in the fire. That was the same fire that set her free. They buried a body, held a funeral. But what they didn't know was the body in that coffin was not hers. Anike Ojetunde was gone, and in her place came Adora Williams. She stepped off the private jet in Accra. There were no bags, no family, no past, only a new name and a reason to burn. For 2 years, she rarely spoke, didn't post. She lived like a shadow, but walked like a storm. She read everything, watched everything, learned how people like Delilah hid money in plain sight, how they use shell companies and fake names to bury truth beneath paperwork. She studied them and planned her return. But this time, she wasn't just coming back for survival. She was coming back for power. Dimeji, her trusted old friend, handled the rest. He became her right hand. He found a tech mentor for her, a place to stay, even helped design the app idea she sketched on the paper during a power outage. They called it Kulushafi, a mobile savings platform for people like her mother. People who were too poor to be seen by banks and too honest to be rich. At first, nobody noticed. Then one woman used it. Then 10. Then 100. Soon, Kulushafi was spreading faster than rumor in the market. She didn't run ads. She ran the results. Bus drivers started recommending it. Market women told their sisters. Poor people were now saving money and trusting her with it. By the third day, Adora Williams was a rising name in Africa's fintech scene. Investors started knocking. One even offered to buy her company. She declined with a soft smile. I didn't come this far to sell. I came to build. But behind that smile, she was sharpening her blade. Because while the world clapped for Kulushafi, Adora was still Anike. Still the girl who her mother died. Still the girl who sat in a prison cell, eating rice with dead ants. And now, she was powerful. Delilah didn't know yet. Didn't suspect a thing. She was still on magazine covers, hosting galas in lace and lies. But the walls were closing in. Anike had built a new identity, but her past was not buried. She had names. She had numbers. She had secrets, including the one Delilah prayed no one would ever find out. That Michael Ajibola was not her real son. Adora smiled at the irony. The boy who watched her burn was living under a roof built on a bigger lie. And now she had a plan. Expose Delilah, crush her legacy and take back everything she lost, piece by piece. She didn't rush. She moved silently. Her first move was to re-enter Nigeria quietly as a guest speaker at the Kulushafi Financial Summit. The same summit Delilah had tried to shut down in her private government connections. She wore all white, no earrings, just numbers. And when she spoke, the world would see her not as a scammer, but as the storm Delilah thought she buried. Because fire doesn't always destroy. Sometimes it makes gold. And Adora, she was gold now. Delilah Ajibola was having breakfast alone as usual. She wore white again. Always white. She built a reputation so clean and neat. She was a charity organizer, a business mogul, and the widow of the late Chief Ajibola. But her closet was full of boys. One of them named Anike, who was supposed to be dead. She just read an article about a mysterious fintech star called Adora Williams. Delilah smiled at the screen. The headline read, "The People's Banker meets the billionaire building Africa's first grassroots bank." She dropped the tablet. Another cockroach trying to look like a dove, she said. Then she reached for her phone. "Find out everything about this Adora girl," she told her assistant. "And by everything, I mean everything. Where she eats, who she sleeps with, what school her housemate's cousin's uncle went to. I want it all. She ended the call and poured herself a fresh glass of pineapple juice. But her hand was shaking. Meanwhile, across town, Adora sat in a rented flat in Lekki. Legs crossed, laptop open, eyes on the game. She didn't blink. Michael had shown up again, twice. First at the summit, then at her office, unannounced. He sat across from her, still confused and unhaunted. "Let me explain," he said. But Adora didn't need explanations. She needed results. "You stood there and watched them take me," she told him, "and you let them bury me while you danced at your wedding." He had no answer, just regret. "I was scared. I didn't know who to believe," he whispered. Adora stood and walked to the window. "You want to make it right?" she asked without turning. "Yes." "Then prove it." "How?" "Help me destroy your mother." His heart sank. He knew she meant it. She meant to ruin her. And somehow, he didn't say no. Later that night, he sent her files, receipts, and land deals. She scrolled through in silence, then stopped. Her eyes sharpened. "These are your father's old company papers." "Some of them," he said. She never thought I would see it. It was enough to hurt her, but not enough to finish Delilah. After the call, Anike turned to Dimeji. "She's careful. If we are to bring her down, we need something raw, something emotional." Adora was building a bomb. Not the kind that explodes, the kind that destroys legacies. Dimeji was the first to bring real ammunition. "She has a hidden company in Dubai," he said, placing a flash drive on the table, registered under a fake name. "That's where the crypto trail ends." Anike leaned forward. "No leaks yet. No noise. We release nothing until we have her cornered." Dimeji nodded, but his eyes kept drifting to her. The girl he once called sister was now a woman with fire in her eyes and war in her heart. He didn't just admire her, he loved her, silently and painfully. But he knew her heart was still with Michael, even if her lips refused to say it. Meanwhile, Michael's marriage was slowly bleeding out. Simi, the girl he was forced to marry, sat on the balcony with a glass of wine she never drank. It was hers since she poured it, and it still remained untouched, like her. She stared into the streets below, watching a little girl play with her father. She always wanted that. Not the money, not the fame. She wanted a man who looked at her like she wasn't invisible. Michael never touched her or looked at her, never kissed her. His heart still beats for Anike. Simi knew it, and it broke her in tiny pieces each day. But one day, she picked one of these pieces and cut herself free. She called an unknown number. "Hello?" A female voice answered, calm and direct. "This is Simi Ajibola. I want to talk to Adora Williams." Silence. Speaking, Simi swallowed hard. "I know who you are, and I know what his mother did." Adora didn't flinch. She waited. "I want to help you," Simi said, voice trembling. "I know where the papers are, the real ones, the ones they forged to make you look guilty." Now Adora flinched. "You're just saying this because you want to leave," she replied. "Yes," Simi said, "but I also want revenge. Please." Adora gave her a meeting point. That night, at a private lounge in Ikoyi, two women sat face to face, one with grief, the other with guilt. Simi handed her a drive. Inside it was an audio recording. "Play the third file," she whispered. Adora inserted it into her laptop. A voice recording played. "If she talks, you talk. And if you talk, I will burn your firm to the ground. Do you understand?" Adora's hands trembled. That was it. A nail for the coffin. "That was the lawyer who handled your case," Simi said. "Delilah blackmailed him into burying the real files." Adora looked up. "What does she have on you?" Simi hesitated and looked down. Her hands were shaking. "My brother. He was 18. He was drunk after partying. Then he hit a man crossing the road. He called me, and I called Delilah. She cleaned everything and even paid off the police. She covered it all up. She swallowed her, but she recorded the entire thing. The body, the blood. My brother was crying beside the car. She's had the footage for years. Adora leaned back. She owns you. Simi nodded, but not anymore. Adora stared at her for a moment. Then Simi handed another envelope. Open it, she said. You need to see what else she buried. Inside it was a birth certificate. Adora's eyes widened. Michael? Simi nodded. Delilah is not his biological mother. Adora blinked. Her throat tightened. The real Mrs. Ajibola, her name was Patience Onasoya, died during childbirth. 6 months later, Delilah married his father. He died shortly after their marriage. They said it was a stroke, but in truth, it was poison. How did you get this? Simi looked away. I wasn't supposed to find this, she said. It was hidden in his father's library, behind the old medical books. She looked back at Adora. It's real. Delilah forged every document after the wedding. Michael doesn't know. Adora stared at the certificate. Her hands shook again, this time from rage. Simi stood, but turned back one last time. Your mother, she didn't just die by accident, did she? She asked. They burned her alive. Simi looked down, then looked back up. Let's finish this together. Meanwhile, Delilah stood in front of the mirror, adjusting her earrings for her next TV interview. She smiled at herself. But this time, the smile cracked as her phone buzzed. It was an anonymous email. One image, black and white. It was a screenshot of her secret account in Dubai, titled, I'm not dead. She dropped the phone. The glass of wine tipped over, spilled red across her white dress. There's a kind of silence that only exists before a storm. And on this day, Lagos held its breath. The Koloshafe summit was about to begin. The event hall on Victoria Island was flooded with lights, cameras, whispers, and money. But the biggest noise in the room was the absence of one woman, Delilah Ajibola, because for the first time in years, she wasn't in control. Backstage, Adora sat alone, legs crossed, eyes closed. Her assistant paced nervously. You're next, ma. She didn't move, just whispered under her breath. Breathe in war, breathe out fear. Then she stood up and walked to the edge of the curtain and waited. The announcer's voice echoed. Ladies and gentlemen, the woman redefining finance for the forgotten, Miss Adora Williams. The crowd clapped. She stepped out slowly, like a queen walking through her enemies. And then, boom, spotlights, cameras, all on her. But while everyone saw a successful tech founder in heels and supreme confidence, only a few knew the truth. She was Anike, and this was not a speech. This was war. She smiled. 3 years ago, I was accused of a crime I didn't commit. My name was dragged. My life was stolen. And my mother burned alive in a fire that was no accident. Gasps rippled through the audience. I was called a thief, a scammer, a liar. But you know what I really was? She paused. A truth. She looked into the camera. Today, I returned with evidence, names, numbers, and a truth so heavy. It can bury the people who buried me. And just like that, the internet exploded. Across town, Delilah was at her private spa, lounging in rose-scented water and singing, until a phone rang. Her PA's voice was shaky. Ma, you need to see this. She opened her tablet, and there she was, Anike, live in living color. Delilah screamed, "Get me, Michael!" At that moment, Michael, who was already watching from the bar at his friend's house. That's her, he whispered. Simi was beside him, quiet and steady. I told you, she said, your mother is a monster. She committed murder. Michael looked down. Why didn't I fight harder for her? Simi didn't answer. She just walked out and left him to drown in guilt. Back at the summit, Adora wasn't done. She pulled out a flash drive. The live screen behind her lit up with documents, bank statements, emails, and voice recordings. A text appeared on the screen. Delilah Ajibola is not who you think she is. The final blow was a birth certificate. It was Michael's. It had one name under, Mother, not Delilah. A woman named Patience Onashoya. The crowd lost it. Phones came out. Tweets were flying. Hashtag Delilah the Snake was trending in 11 minutes. Adora stared straight into the camera. So Michael, if you're watching this, now you know who she truly is. She was never your mother. She just wanted your father's fortune. And she killed him to get it. Delilah smashed the tablet. Wine spilled on the floor. She grabbed her wig and threw it across the room. Screamed, "That stupid girl thinks she has won." She picked up her phone and dialed a number with shaking hands. "Clean it up," she snapped. "I don't care how. Lick something, bribe someone, bury her again." But this time, nobody answered. Because the walls were closing in and the people she bought were deleting her number. By morning, Delilah's name was everywhere. Front pages, blogs, everywhere. She didn't leave her room, didn't eat, didn't speak. She just sat nails, biting with her wig off. Her husband was dead, her reputation dead, and her son gone. Michael packed his things at 3 a.m. Didn't say a word, didn't even look back. Meanwhile, Anike stood in her new office, watching the sun rise. Her hair was tied back with no makeup, just focus. The Meiji walked in with coffee. "You broke the internet." Anike didn't turn. "They broke me first." He leaned against the glass. "So, what's next?" She turned, eyes cold. War. But this time, it's public. Breaking news. EFCC freezes Delilah Ajibola's accounts. The headlines didn't stop. Delilah's fake son. Mystery behind Michael Ajibola's real mother. Insiders reveal Chief Ajibola's death may not have been natural. Delilah tried to deny it all. She called a press conference. "I am innocent. My family is under attack by a jealous woman with a vendetta." But as she was speaking, a voice rang out from the crowd. "Where is your son, ma?" No answer. Then another reporter. "Did you or did you not threaten Anike Ojetunde 3 years ago?" The camera zoomed in on her. Her lip trembled. Then she walked off stage. Just like that, everyone knew. The queen had no clothes. Delilah's lawyer, the one who got Anike locked up, was under investigation. And someone, a ghost from the past, was feeding intel to the authorities. That someone was Chief Ajibola's estranged brother. He came back from London with old documents, private letters, and CCTV footage from years ago, all pointing to one thing. Delilah planned everything, including Chief Ajibola's death. Delilah's house was no longer a fortress. One by one, her guards and her chef resigned. She sat by the window, paranoid and shaking. That night, her phone rang. It was an unknown number. She answered. A voice clear, slow, dangerous. "Do you remember me now?" She froze. "Who is this?" "The girl you tried to bury. Twice." She cut the call and dropped the phone, then screamed. At Anika's apartment, she stood on the balcony, holding her mother's scarf, the one she used to tie cassava, and pressed it to her face. "I'm close now, Mommy," she whispered. "I'm almost done." It was 6:48 a.m. when the gate of Delilah's mansion shook like thunder. Not from friends or visitors, but from the law. EFCC, DSS, 2 black vans, 10 officers, 3 warrants. Delilah was still in her nightgown, trying to sip her tea. Her hands could hold. The tray fell, and the cup shattered. The front door burst open. Guns out, bullets in. "Mrs. Delilah Ajibola, you are under arrest for financial fraud, forgery of documents, murder, and obstruction of justice. She didn't move. She whispered, "This is a mistake." Outside, the street was packed. Cameras, neighbors. She was dragged into the vehicle. Inside the station, the question started. Her lawyer came and tried to speak in her defense, but the EFCC brought out more than words: video footage, voice notes, and recordings. Delilah laughed. "This is all a lie. That girl, Anike, is behind this." That night in her cell, Delilah paced barefoot. In her mind, it was still a misunderstanding. One press release, one powerful call, and it will all go away. But the next morning, they denied bail. They said too many charges. Anike watched TV from her apartment. She just whispered, "Mommy, she's inside. She's not walking free." The Major walked in with the newspaper, dropped it on the table. Front page. Delilah Ajibola arrested. Anike stared at the photo. The woman in the cuffs didn't look like a queen. She looked like every monster who thought their money was louder than justice. 3 days into her arrest, Delilah requested a visit. It was Michael. He went, not for love or closure, but to say goodbye. She looked at him through the glass. "Michael, I was protecting you. Everything I did it for us." Michael's jaw clenched. "You ruined my life. I don't even know who I am anymore." "You're my son." "No," he said angrily. "I'm someone else's child. Someone you killed. I know the truth now about how you lied, about my real mother, and about how you poisoned my father just to take everything he owned." Her hands trembled. Michael stood. "You buried Anike once. Now you are the one in the grave." He walked away and never saw him again. That night, she asked for a pen and paper to write a confession. She said, when the guard looked away, she rushed into her bra and pulled out a tiny capsule, crushed it between her teeth. By the time they found her, she was dead. Her face was pale, and there was foam on her lips. There was a note beside her. "A queen never dies." They buried her once in a fire. They buried her again in lies. But Anike refused to stay buried because some women are too powerful for even 2 coffins. And this time, she didn't rise from the ashes to survive. She rose to rule. Moral lesson: wealth without integrity is a ticking time bomb. Delilah built her empire on lies, blood, and forgery. It looked powerful, but one flash drive destroyed it all. Truth is the real currency. People didn't use Koloshafe because of ads. They used it because they trusted Adora. Never underestimate a quiet person. Anike went silent, but she was planning. Sometimes people are not weak. They are just watching and waiting for the right time. Helping others can lift you too. By helping poor people save through Koloshafe, Adora lifted herself. When you help others rise, you rise too. Money built on wickedness will always fail. Delilah used evil means to gain money and power, but in the end, it brought her downfall. Evil may rise, but it will never last. Delilah's greed changed everything, but did she truly get what she deserved? Her story is one of love, deception, and consequences that would leave us wondering. What do you think? Was her fate justified? Or does her legacy deserve more compassion? Share your thoughts below. We'd love to hear your perspective. Binge on more mind-blowing stories below. Each twist will leave you questioning everything. Don't miss next week's heartwarming tale. Subscribe and hit the bell. You won't miss it when it comes.